in this part 2 of my video about my master plan Dieta with Renaquilla and Ayahuasca, I want to share an experience and the insights or perspectives that I gained from having that experience. And I kind of have to say by the start to say that it's really difficult to speak about the space of ceremony with the plants. If I imagine that where I was before I did that for the first time, I don't think I could have explained to myself what's actually convey what's actually happening, and that's how it is with all experiences in life, I guess. But since I want to share now an experience from that space, I realize that you, the viewers of the video, are probably in very different places. Maybe some have already worked with plant medicine and then things are more clear. Maybe you can relate more to that space of ceremony, and maybe for some people it's completely new. So I try to speak in a way for everybody, that works for everybody. And I want to be very humble also. I speak about my experience, and I'm by no means very experienced with these things. There are many people that are much more experienced than I am. And still I bring something back, and maybe as from the level where I am with my experience I can share, and maybe things completely shift. And one lesson or learning from this work is that I don't know anything. And I try to find some words for some of the experience. And yes, today I want to share from ayahuasca ceremony during my dieta, or what that space feels like in ceremony. It's like in normal time, it's maybe 5 hours, 6 hours. But this time during ceremony is very different. Time works very different. Maybe time doesn't exist, or my perception of what exists changes. So even if there's always the outlook of this will be over at some point, the experience is so real that that's not a help in any way. If I'm in a deep experience and it's terrifying or blissful, and somebody or the thought comes, this will be over soon, that thought doesn't come. And if it was to come, then I would know that that's no meaningful information in that space where time dissolves, where things dissolve. So this is maybe already one thing to say about the sacred time during ceremony. And then the way the plants work to teach is quite different to what I grew up with as a teacher that tells me things and I maybe repeat them and then I know them in my mind. But what happens in plant medicine ceremony for me is that it's a process, but in the beginning, when the medicine begins to work, there are different phases that come and go, and eventually my awareness, my focus comes to some dynamic that I'm experiencing in real life, maybe a situation from my relationships with friends or family or my partner, or thoughts about the world. Wherever my attention goes from that place during the ceremony, it's very easy to find new perspectives on that and understand things more clear. And it feels there comes a point after I let go of the resistance where all the things may click. And when I say all the things like click together like little super small wheels in the big mystery unfolding, and I can see how everything is relevant, and that there's a lesson in every situation for me to to learn to act from a place of love and integrate and understand that it could not be otherwise, that there is all the judgments drop to other people and opinions they might have, because a higher understanding comes in that it could not be otherwise, and that we are connected, and that part that I see in the other who is doing something that I normally judge, but now I can understand how this being comes to behave this way, and with this new understanding there's just love and acceptance for whatever expression, and a very humble place of not understanding why certain things need to happen, even if they are uncomfortable or painful. And in the ceremony space, for me, this is truer than things can be in this everyday kind of state of being. Just there's a knowing coming in, and it's also very radical in the sense that I'm not talking only about not judging somebody dropping their paper or cup in the street. I'm talking about the most cruel things that I can come up with, and things that I can see in other people or project onto them, and to realize that all that is within me, and that this is a co-creation where the barrier between you and me, the separation, dissolves, and it becomes one big unfolding, one big organism, where in the ceremony how it then works is it feels like I'm being squeezed as much as I'm capable of taking and holding, being squeezed more and more. In the beginning it's uncomfortable and I don't want it, and I go into resistance with it, but it doesn't make sense to resist. And this understanding, when this finally kicks in, and this is it's a very difficult process every time, again, to really let go and surrender to the experience. But when the pressure increases, and at some point the letting go takes place, and then the experience completely shifts. And for me, for example, there was a moment where I was super capable of moving with my awareness from my mind down to my heart, and I could observe my complete experience shifting the moment I would go back up or back down into the heart space and into the mind. And this was my wish to experience this, and I'm really grateful that I could do that, and that I have this reference point where I can do this now also in more and more situations. Let's say it's now time for me to integrate this experience, but I can recall that moment, and I lock that in, and I kind of put an anchor there and try to remind myself of those truths that I discovered for myself in ceremony. And then eventually it's this squeezing that happened, it lets go also, and it lets you go again. And it's, in a way, it's the most loving squeeze that I can receive in order for me to take that lesson that I was invited to look at in that situation. And then the squeezing lets go, and now it's, of course, my choice, a question of my will. If I say, okay, thank God that's over, now I can go back to being that person that I was before, or I can learn from what I was shown and integrate. And when ceremony and this kind of prayer space becomes a recurring thing in my life, then I know that I will touch this, I will come back to this point. And I will remember, oh shit, I was here before and I didn't learn, and now I'm still where I was before and I can't go deeper and it's painful. Or if I integrate, next time I'm in that point, I can say, yeah, I changed that. I'm more aligned there to my better understanding. And it's up to me. It's very, very gentle, this way of teaching. Very loving. And oftentimes I need some sort of discomfort or pain or so to develop the willingness to change, actually. And from this, I want to extrapolate, zoom out a bit, and look at planet Earth and the time that we are in, with the quarantine around the world. To me, I mean, I entered the jungle when that quarantine kind of started rippling around the world, and I was in the jungle not knowing what's going on out there. And when I came out after 2 weeks being offline, and I was still for another month in Peru in quarantine, and it was so clear for me, and that this is, planet Earth is in ceremony. Yeah, this grasping, this squeezing that I was talking about is happening to all of us. And we can look at our ways and the life and how we grow food and what we do and how we relate to people, and we can do all that. And now it seems like the pressure is releasing again, and we get to choose if we learned or if we didn't learn. And yeah, that's the bigger ceremony that we find ourselves in. And I think I said in the last video already, life is a ceremony. So with this view onto what is ceremony, it seems like an ayahuasca ceremony is just like a very intense, dense experience with all these qualities that on a bigger scale, all life is one long one of these, and there are smaller ones and bigger ones. And yeah, with this perspective, it's, like I say, very, very humbling and challenging at times, but rewarding, very, very much so. And it feels right to me to walk this path. And what I said before, that this things in that space seem more true. There's a knowing coming in that goes beyond how real or true things seem here now, me looking to the camera, this body. And so yes, thank you for watching. Again, if there are questions, I'm happy to take them into my next videos or answer them in the comments. And yeah, I enjoy when you like my video or comment. It feels always good. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful ceremony. Aho.